So, as you see, we have to tell us a story and maybe sing us a song.
No, not today.
I thought you were going to do something. Didn't you say?
Yeah, something extra. I'm not
Something
going to
extra.
see what it is.
Right. It is MEG, PHILP.
Thank you. Something a little bit different tonight. I'm going to tell you a fable. Now, you know about fables. They're usually about animals, and they often usually have a moral. This one was a fairly modern one written by an American called Stephen Holt. It's not really written that well, but it's an interesting story, and it goes something like this. Once upon a time, there was a Siamese cat who pretended to be a lion, and he spoke inappropriate Zebraic, which is the language of those striped horses that live in Africa. Now, just imagine this. Some innocent zebra comes walking through the woods, and suddenly, coming from the other direction, he sees a little cat. And the cat goes up and says, "Hello there. Isn't it a fine day? The birds are singing, the sun is shining. Aren't you glad to be alive today?" And the zebra stops in its tracks, is stunned, is so astonished he's fit to be tied. So the little cat ties him up, kills him, drags him off, and takes a better part of the carcass for his feet. Now, this went on for many months, and he was very successful in his hunting of zebras, this Siamese cat. He dined on filet mignon of zebra every night, and any decent carcass that had a really good pelt, he would take some of that and make very snazzy bow ties or wide belts, which used to be the fashion of the princes of the old Siamese court. He was rather proud of himself. He'd always been fussy about his appearance, particularly his face and his fur. He liked to keep them just perfect. This might remind you of someone who's not a Siamese cat. Now, the trouble with that was he began to boast that with his friends he had been killing zebras. He had been pretending to be a lion. In fact, he probably was a lion, and he had a den, and to prove it, he invited some of them back to see the bow ties and the belts. Oh, it was just too much. It caused a great furore amongst the zebra herd, and although they had very delicate noses and they could sense there was no scent of lion anywhere, they were a herd. They panicked easily. They were superstitious, and so they decided that actually it was a ghost of a lion that was haunting the forest. Now, one day, luckily, the storyteller for the herd of zebra was ambling along, wondering what she could tell the herd just for their enjoyment, something that would make them laugh. She wanted something a little bit different. And she thought, oh, I know, I could make up a story about a Siamese cat that can speak our language. Well, she'd hardly got that idea in her head when who should come along the path but the Siamese cat, who stopped and said, "Hello," in very appropriate to the break. "Isn't it a fine day? Aren't you pleased to be out here in the open air?" The storyteller looked at the cat. She wasn't afraid, she wasn't surprised, she wasn't stunned. She'd already been thinking the very thing is possible in her brain, so she wasn't conned by this cat. And when she had a good look at it, she thought, there's something about this beast I don't trust. So she turned around and she kicked out with her back heels and killed the cat. And so, dear listeners, that is the function of the storyteller. To kill the cat. To have the audience imagine what could possibly be. To have them not be fazed by the unexpected. To have them think, is this a story about zebras or Siamese cats? Doesn't that Siamese cat remind you of somebody who used to be a president of the USA? To get you thinking, that's what a storyteller does. So, I hope that you appreciate the role of the storyteller and the short story that was written by Spencer Holst. It's a really hard story to tell.
You did it well.
Thank you. And as luck would have it, I was in the laundry thinking it's a bit short. I told it last week at the storytelling at the library. And I needed something a wee bit longer, and I just happened to be tidying up papers. And Sydney Morning Herald, Sundays, I love Peter Fitzsimmons' page on the back. And he always has a really good joke. And I just so happened to pick up one, and this was the joke. Okay, it goes like this. I hope it works. One day, a fella goes into an antique shop in Sydney, and he comes upon the most magnificent bronze statue of a Siamese cat. And he picks it up as a decent weight, and he takes it to the counter and says, "How much for this?" The fella leaning on the counter said, $200 for the cat and $2,000 for the story. "Oh," said the fella, "bugger the story. I want the cat. Here's the $200. Oh, well, okay then. Okay," said the owner, passed over the cat. And the man walks out. He don't bother wrapping it. Goes out of the shop, and he notices as he steps onto the pavement, there's two Siamese cats on either side of the doorway who step down too and follow. He gets to the crossing at the end of the street and looks round, and there's 5 Siamese cats. Oh my God. The lights change, he dashes across, gets to the other side of the road, down the street, and as things are getting a bit frantic again, he looks behind. Oh, it's more than a dozen. Could be 20 following very intently coming down the road. Well, he changes tack, he heads for the pier. He goes down to the shore, and as he gets across the road, at the cobbled road, he looks back and there's about 100 of them coming straight for him. He can't believe it. Well, he starts running, and he runs down the pier, and he takes that statue and he throws it into the water. And 100 Siamese cats dive in after it. Oh, the fellow's so shaken. Can't believe what's happened. He decides to go back to the shop. He has to gather himself together and gets back to the shop, and he says to the fella, Shopkeeper says, "I've been waiting for you. You want the story, right?" He said, "Oh, forget the bloody story. Have you got a statue of a politician?"